Hallo miteinander, I'm Gesh86 and this is the Disappearing of Gensokyo. Last time we tested our mettle against a noble vampire and qualified ourselves for her space program. There may be no level Marissa is more tailored to than today's. Oh, it's going to be quite an unusual part of the game, but before any of that, Sakuya, the real Sakuya, introduces us to the rocket launch site. The perfect maid is indeed present in this game. I have no idea why she did not show herself during the siege of her home. What was she doing? Also, the Scarlet Devil Mansion tends to explode. That is a widely popular fan joke, and DOG pays its due to honor it. Know what else explodes? The Sinsack Army's suicide bombers. What we're about to see will convey the main idea for the stage. The enemies are aiming for the rocket ship instead of us. What we have on our hands is a defend the target mission from start to almost finish. As with Kogasa and the Celestial of the Desert, our life is again tied to an escortee. Naturally, our quest would come to a full stop if we could no longer fly to the moon. We must do everything we can to keep our ride safe. 3 tall and impressively powerful fairy maids have arrived to aid us in that. Know for now that they are pretty significant and that it's almost as important to protect them as it is the rocket itself. We'll get to why a little later. The map on our radar seems quite expansive, however, you only ever need to stay on the main plaza. The passages the area extends into only serve as spawn points for the hordes and to house lore books. As always, I will screenshot those for you. The enemies that keep arriving have been simple fodder so far. I do nonetheless remember that every standard foe we've met appears at some point during the assault. In fact, we saved one of our maids from a black fairy just in the nick of time. It's already starting to ramp up. During all of this, your radar is more useful than it ever was. Red arrows will point to incoming squads even before they come into sight. Right now, they're approaching from everywhere it seems, but do not panic, it is just a large number of slow Yoshikas. Possibly the least effective enemy you could put into this scenario. That's why they ordered loads. Iku will also sometimes warn you of high priority troops, like right here, where we had load-bearing penguins approaching from the southeast. Those birds can really wreck our rocket. Not all enemies are meant to be bombers, many are just supposed to distract you. The reason I said Marissa was so ideal here is only partially due to her high level of power. Her speed allows her to get from one hotspot to another extremely quickly. An otherwise pretty stressful operation is almost trivial for the witch. Until this wave, at least. We have a Black Alice, Black Sakuya and White Tenshi all going after one defender maid each. If they were all concentrating on us, it would be incredibly unfair, but they're not. What is this? 3 magic pieces are just lying around now? Not exactly. Any surviving fairy maid turns into an artifact at this point. That's why I said they were so important to look after. In fact, having the rocket itself destroyed is such a massive and unlikely failure, you could say that keeping your helper friends alive is the true challenge. This dialogue marks a change of objective, the rocket becomes invulnerable, the new focus is the Touhou with the kinkiest outfit, the most despicable Nuahoju. She is notorious for cooking up unpleasant schemes and just declared that she wants to trash the rocket. A mean plan, no doubt, but Nua is going to top that off. She yearns to murder us. Yikes! Ripping out our guts and taking a bubble bath in our blood is what I imagine her perfect day looks like. Thus, she becomes the end of stage mini-boss. Nua attacks with semi-homing energy streams, multi-pronged lasers, and may stab us with her trident if we're not careful. Getting too close is not smart, as we just saw. You lose a lot of shield power from that. The villainous Chimera is also very sturdy herself, but like everything else, she falls after a relentless firing of spiky icicles. Here we get an interesting revelation. This was apparently not the real Nua Hoju, just another invading phantom. For the longest time I completely misunderstood or forgot about this information, thinking that Gensokyo's genuine Nua would act so psychopathic. The doppelganger did not have a noticeably different design, that's what must have confused me. No, Marissa assures that Nua, while definitely a delinquent, would not go this far. With that, nothing stands in the way of our voyage anymore, except that we have to touch the exit once again. 2, 1, 0, liftoff. This is ground control, we have a liftoff. What a majestic image! Are we about to see space or touch upon the moon's surface? It would be logical. Where else would we go after this? Answer: the Azure Fortress. Yeah, we have been transported back. Even when it's so inappropriate and dumb, MyACG will not break its video gamey concept of choosing every single stage from the teleporting lake. Not even Tenshi can stay quiet about how badly this killed the suspense. And Iku does her best to give a sensible explanation and assures that the waypoint to the moon is set. Overall, I really enjoy playing Stage 13. It is a refreshing deviation from how the game usually works. To have any kind of exploratory component removed is not actually bad, so long as it doesn't become the norm. It is also a noticeably easier level than that of the Scarlet Devil Mansion or its fierce owner. It's pleasant that the difficulty dropped for a change. That's something we can all expect not to last. Right here, Tenshi and Iku are agreeing that the Sinsack army and its leaders won't be able to follow us to the moon. During the conversation, this is affirmed 3 or so times. When you say something that often, you know you want it to be true, you're trying to convince yourself. How likely is it really that we have left the invaders in the dust? I'm going to go ahead and say not very. Never underestimate the determination of twisted rabid superfans. Within Iku's recruitment list, you could have found the shadowy outline of Sakuya. The perfect maid has made her story debut this episode, but has no chance to aid us in the Let's Play, as she, like many, is paid DLC. The most unusual aspect of Sakuya is that in order to keep using her attacks, you must pick up the knives you've thrown. Believe it or not, in the few sessions that I've tried her out, Sakuya did not seem grossly overpowered. We could probably use her and not feel like copping out, but as always, I don't want to loosen up the conditions of the Let's Play. Perhaps one day we'll have a bonus episode that'll demonstrate the entourage of DLC characters to you. While Reisen is not looking forward to visiting the moon, Alice and Marissa seem to be in much higher spirits. They share the hobby of experimental magic mixing. We know that Marissa keeps blowing her own face up through this. Is Alice doomed to suffer the same fate? No, the puppeteer turns out to be a much more prudent alchemist. An ingredient composition of 4 to 1 is indeed very different from 1 to 8. I don't think wacky Marissa has any idea what she's doing. Back to stage 13, when I was still new to it, collecting the magic pieces did not come easy. On my first attempt, I think I got only a single one. If you're having similar troubles, know that you're checkpointed before the final wave. If you've already lost a maid at that point, it's an option to have yourself killed on purpose. You will respawn with all of your allies then. Restarting the whole mission won't be necessary. We're about to expand on an old joke here. Kokoro and Oku are translating what never needed to be translated. The same was of course done in the M1 Grand Prix. Might as well double down if you've already borrowed your gag. At least we learned that Yoshika doesn't really mean it when she's being so hostile to Tenshi. About how easy today's level was, it's very surprising. So many games get escort or defend your target missions spectacularly wrong, especially those from the 90s and 2000s. Oku's owner is a pink eye and has a sister who is a green closed eye. That is quite a reduction of the Komeiji sisters. As I was saying, there are so many bad examples of protection missions. A few months ago, I played XCOM Enforcer. Apart from being frowned upon as an XCOM game, it is a third-person shooter of relatively low difficulty, until you hit a point that makes you defend a target. Mission 6, to be precise. Suddenly, it turns incredibly unfair for all the wrong reasons. I somehow persevered, but I bet most people won't bother. It's a shame. Fast-paced shooters like it, that don't rely on cover or stealth, have become en vogue again. Back on track, we're inquiring Byakuren about Nua. The Chimera is indeed a disciple at Myoren Temple, although she doesn't come across as particularly devoted. Coming in person to sabotage our rocket ship would be unlike her. Byakuren points out that Nua is unidentified, meaning she schemes in secret, which makes it really hard to trace any involvement back to her. That actually became a plot point in a very amusing chapter of Forbidden Scrollery. I'm not sure I ever mentioned this, but Byakuren is also a DLC character. She happened to be the last one that got added a good while after launch. Right here, she also mentions having a bitchin' motorcycle, and yes, you can use that as a bomb when playing as her. Byakuren also takes having an SMG more literal than Chirno, sporting dual-wielded Uzis. With that, we're at the end of another video. I'm Gesh86, this was the Disappearing of Gensokyo, and next time, if you believe they put a girl on the moon. Bis bald!